The number one, aside from safety, I think, rule, idea behind becoming a good coxswain, it all boils down to awareness. If you have heightened awareness, you will become a better coxswain. Any single possible thing that you think that you need to work on or you need to get better at, if you increase your awareness on that subject, you're going to get better. So now, oh, sorry, I think I already had it. Sit down. So, and I think everything boils down to awareness. I don't have any good example. I have a really terrible example I'll give you in a second, but most coxswains think that if they row every day they're in a boat, they get better. If they've been a coxswain for 3 seasons, they're better than a coxswain that's been a coxswain for 2 seasons. They've been coxswain for 5 years, they're going to be a better coxswain than coxswain for 3 years. They think it's linear. And I think that's the case for a lot of rowers. I don't think that's the case for most coxswains. I think that it's much more, I think of it much more, my analogy I like to use is that everyone's seen Charlotte's spider web, like perfect sort of picturesque spider web. Think of every intersecting part of the spider web as a skill set. And either you have those dots or you don't. The more those dots that you have, the more perfect your spider web is. Everyone up here has got a perfect, beautiful spider web. Your spider webs right now look like a bunch of scraggly lines of like goofiness. Right? Some skills are missing altogether, or they're really, really weak, and there's holes in your spider web. And our goal is to make sure that you can sort of improve each skill set to make your spider web stronger and stronger each year. Right? Because sometimes our skills get worse, and we need to come back and revisit them to make them sort of stronger again. So, and the awareness, I think, is like the center thing of all of that. Everything's connected to that. So, when we talk about sort of awareness, I think the number one thing I think most coxswains don't do is they're not what I like to call a student of the sport. They're very passive about their coxswain. There's so many things that you do or you're not doing that you're not even aware of. And what happens, we need to take proactive steps. Most coxswains feel like if they show up and they put their butt in the coxswain seat, they're going to get better. I don't know how many coxswains I see that they literally do that day in and day out and they do not get any better. And I think they don't get any better is because they have not done the proactive steps to ensure that they're going to have a good practice. Perfect example. Some of the guys who were in the launch with me today, somebody asked me about traffic pattern. How many people here knew they were coming to camp here before today? Or was it a surprise? Okay, so you all knew you were coming, right? It wasn't a surprise. You knew you were coming. You didn't just get dropped off here at practice. How many of you looked up this body of water and the traffic pattern before you got here? I want a hand up. Big hand up. Okay. Who told you to do that? You. Yeah. So not one of you did that. You came to a foreign body of water that you know nothing about, and you didn't look up the traffic pattern. Do you think that was smart? Do you think you're being proactive? Do you think you're going to be able to run a smooth and efficient practice if you don't know where you're supposed to be? No. Awareness. You need to be aware of your conditions, your environment, before you step into it. Now, the reason I say it's like, so again, that's being proactive. Before you even get there, you're doing your background research on the body of water. You're doing your background research on this boathouse. What kind of boats do they row? Did you know if you're going to have 4s or 8s? Did any of you email Sparks and ask what kind of shells we were going to be using? Right? No. So, do you think that is proactive or reactionary? Reactionary. Now, when you're coxing your boats, do you want to be reacting to everything that's going on around you? Or do you want to be the one setting the tone, setting the pace? Right? Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So now, takes me to my next example. If you want to be a good coxswain, you need to be a coxswain of the sport. Sorry, a student of the sport. So let me give you an example. How many people here have taken a history class? You ask questions. What do you do at home? Study. Homework. Do you take quizzes? Yeah. Do you prepare? You study. All that other stuff. So that when you go to the final, you're prepared for it. Now, how many of you take notes after every practice? How many people actually study those notes? If you write something down, you're also more likely to remember it. Not only are you more likely to remember it, you now have it as a resource. And you can go back to it whenever you need that information. My rowers all the time, they think I'm pretty brilliant. I'm probably one of the smartest people I know. I'm very humble about it too. But my rowers think I'm way smarter than I am, because at my ease of being able to recall numbers and scores. And I know all their PR. They use the same thing with all your rowers. You know their PRs, you know their weights. But you, like the stuff that we remember. Most of the time it's because we write it down first. You're then probably reviewing it later. As we're going into the next erg test, I'm looking, oh, what did they do last time? Oh, okay, what were their splits? They come up to ask me and say, oh, like, how did I do last time? Oh, you did this. Now, I come off as knowing a lot more and being smarter than I am, again, because I wrote it down. I had my notes. Now, again, I'm also sort of studying it. I'm studying physiology. Do you think you're going to have better control? Do you think you're going to have more confidence? Do you think you're going to be able to know and tell them what they want better? Right? Again, awareness. This is information. So, and I'm talking about like anything. You need to be a student of the sport. And you'll always see me, I have my notebook on me at all times. You'll see all the coaches here. Every coxswain. We've got coxswains from different countries. You know, we have coxswains from all over the world. Guys, girls, all across the U.S. And the ones that are the best are always the ones that are, again, students of the sports. They have their notebooks. They're keeping track of it. They're following what's going on, you know, what's new. Again, this is going to go into how to run a smooth practice, which is what coaches want more than anything else. So now notice, this is the stuff I'm laying on as the overarching important things. Have we talked about calls yet? Motivation? No. That's the easy stuff. If you don't have these other things down, you're never going to get better. And one of my favorite analogies is, I had an old coach that said, can anyone tell me what a black belt is? A black belt means you are a master of the basics. You are not the highest skilled karate person on the planet. You have literally just mastered the basics. All the coxswains you see up here are elite level coxswains because they have mastered the basics. These guys do not hit things. They do not misstate things. They don't make mistakes. That's what a good coxswain is. You're never going to be told how good you are because everything you're doing right. And one of my favorite of all, you know, articles of all time that I read, my coach in the Olympics was being interviewed by the New York Times? Yeah, the New York Times, about the coxswains and who was selected for one of the national teams. And they sat there and they said, okay, why is this guy, Neto Garcia, why is he not in the vote? And the coach listed all these things. Oh, he does this, you know, he crashing the knees, so mouthy, and, you know, he doesn't listen to me, and yada, yada, yada. He goes, oh, that's fantastic. He goes, then why is Marcus McElhenney in the vote? He goes, oh, well, because Ned's mouthy, and he doesn't listen to me, and, you know, he's got that experience. He's like, yes, you know, we covered that. But why is Marcus in? Well, because Ned does this wrong, and that wrong, and that. He's like, no. Can you point out what Marcus does right? And he goes, huh. This is the Olympic coach, and I'm the Olympic coxswain, and he doesn't know what I do right. He just can't think of any mistakes that I make. That is when you're a good coxswain. That's when you're going to advance in your program. So again, all this other we're going to be talking about is making sure you're not making mistakes. You don't need to be perfect. We don't need to add more. Normally, we just need to take more out. Okay? And we're able to do that when we're students of the sports, when we're keeping track of our own stuff and what we're doing in our own progress and our own development.